spoke about the splinters,
Yeah.
as essentially blocking the flow or having us be repellent or the opposite of magnetic, and obviously wanting to take the splinters out in order to come home to ourselves. So then we're really magnetizing towards us all the opportunities that are correct and right for us.
Welcome to the Wild and Finally Fucking Free podcast show. This is a space where truth talking gets real, behind the scenes grit of the future humans is laid bare, and we are celebrating and sharing the real raw stories of change agents, neurosparkly people, the witchy wild women, the deep feelers, the unapologetic sensors, the status quo challengers, and the huge-hearted healers and helpers. And guiding you through this wild ride of entrepreneurship and full heart-led contribution to the world is me, your host, Kylie Patchett, aka KP. I am a proudly neurosparkly, natural-born status quo challenger, and I thrive on helping disruptors, rebels, and revolutionaries find their voices, amplify their message into the world, and harness their raw potential, alchemize it into unleashing your full potency. Not only will I be sharing the behind the scenes of some of the most amazing, most status quo challenging thought leaders, I'll also be lifting the veil behind my own business. In 2024, I 18x'd my monthly income. Still blows my mind to say that. And this year, I am leaning into how joyful and fun it would be to shift from 6 figures to 7 figures in a quantum shifting year. All through leading from my full unapologetic voice, my unleashed potency, and with my big, wildly lit up heart leading the way every single step of the way. So we are going to share the mess and the magic, the tea on identity shifting behind thought leadership. So together with my guests, I am going to be sharing the mess and the magic, spilling the tea on the identity shifts behind stepping into thought leadership, breaking the ties that bind us, unlearning old patterns, and reweaving brand new ways of living, loving, learning, and leading. We're here to break boundaries, reimagine what's possible, all while collapsing timelines and leading with joy, love, and our fiercest wild woman selves. This is not just a podcast. It is a rebellion. It is a revolution. It is an invitation to join the Mad Hatters collective movement. And by Mad Hatters, I mean all the colourful, creative, gorgeous, world-changing, out-of-the-box humans out there. If you've ever longed to be wild and finally fucking free, this is your sign to lean in. Let's get started. Hello, my love. Kylie here. Happy New Year. You are just about to dive into a very special summer series episode because I worked all the way through Christmas and New Year, but I'm taking some space and grace because I'm just about to turn 50. So whilst I'm offline, enjoying and celebrating and marinating in stepping into a whole new decade, we have chosen a few of our favorite episodes, and here is one. Enjoy. May your new year be full of everything you need, want, and desire. And I will see you, or you will hear from me, on the other side of the Festival of 50. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I have a return guest, which doesn't happen very often. So welcome back to the studio, Dr. Ezzie Spencer. How are you?
I am so well. I'm so excited to be back. I had literally been waiting all day for this interview because the last conversation was so juicy.
It was. Actually, we were just saying the last conversation we had was the day that I woke up with my glass lamp smashing on my floor. And it was some like new moon. I can't remember exactly what astrologically was happening, but there was something that was earth shattering. And my lamp shattered. So I don't know what's going to come out of this one. For those people who have not come across you before, which I don't think will be very many people, but would you like to introduce yourself for those who don't already know you and your brilliant work in them?
Yes. So I'm Dr. Ezzie Spencer. I started out as a human rights lawyer. People often so surprised to hear when they hear what it is that I'm doing now.
Yes.
I took a bit of a cosmic turn in life. Exactly. Yeah. And right now I'm working with entrepreneurs to help to remove money splinters from their consciousness so they can raise their income ceilings, but do so with a greater quality of life experience. So there's a lot in between the first part of the story and what I just said.
I know.
We traversed a lot of that territory.
And even though, well, yes, that's something I should say. So Ezzie was last on the podcast in season 1, episode 47, which I've linked in the show notes to this chat, because if you don't know lots of the story in between, because we're not going to retell all of it, but even though I know that you were a human rights lawyer, when I went back to that episode, I was like, I just don't, like, it's not what comes to my mind when I think of you and what you do. But then I guess people say that about my original career too, so fair enough. Anyway, here we are. Last time we were speaking about, and I was just saying to you, I love watching the evolution of your work because I feel like it goes higher and higher. And then I was like, but it's deeper and deeper. It goes in both directions. It's getting bigger. I don't know. So let's catch up where we left off, which was, I don't know what the date was of that one, but it was a fair while ago. I want to say well more than a year. What has been happening in your universe to unfold Money Splinter work? How did it happen?
So, great question.
I like to think I can occasionally ask a good one.
So, I was living in LA at the time that we recorded the last episode. And at that time, I actually haven't listened to the episodes. I can't remember exactly when I was or what was going on. So let me just take a stab in the dark, like the battleships. Where were we? What was I doing? But at the time that we'd recorded that last episode, which was sometime, I think, early in 2023, I had thrown open my doors to doing the splinter removals and the unconscious vow removals. Yeah. And I can talk about how they are in relation to each other in the channels. And we'll go into all of that. We went into that in the last episode, but I'll definitely speak about what that looks like in relation to the money splinters. So I'd thrown my doors open at that point to work with basically anyone on any topic, like anybody who was experiencing a splinter in the power, love, or peace channels. Now, what I found working in LA was that I experienced a lot of creative spiritual entrepreneurs coming to me to work with money. Yep. And straight away, oh my gosh, I can even feel the energy of it.
Yes, I'm like, I'm sitting up straight. I'm ready.
Exactly. So whilst I was working with people on like creativity, purpose, self-expression, fitness, love, like all these topics, it was the money sessions where I found that there was a rapid acceleration of consciousness. And now that's my mission in life, is to contribute to the evolution and the expansion of human consciousness. So I noticed that firstly, the entrepreneurs were getting very practical, tangible results, like walking out of a session, having $100,000 launch or birthing a new business, or very measurable metrics. Yes. But I was having the experience myself of feeling an acceleration of consciousness. There just was an electric energy in the money session. So for 2023, I continued on doing lots of different topics, but by the end of 2023, I decided to just really narrow in with precision on the thing that was the most exciting to me and where people were just coming back again and again because they just wanted more and more, because they're like, then I started to, here we are in 2024, decent way into 2024. And of course, when I started to specialize, which I have this year, all of this year, specialize in working with female entrepreneurs who are already experiencing a level of success, but need support to get out of their own way to go to the next level or to experience growth that is more easeful in nature.
That's what I was going to say.
It's not just about making more money
in
a different way. It's about the quality of the experience that you have, because we're all done with the grind and the hustle and all of that.
So it's so 2011, Ezzie.
That's when we first met.
That's what I was doing back then.
Gosh, yes. Oh, you and me both, my friend.
Sure out.
Oh,
anyway.
Yeah, indeed. More feminine flow, more ease. Yes, please. But without selling it like a magic pill, of course. It's oftentimes the missing link. And obviously I'm working with energy. I work with positive psychology. So I get into very deep places with people.
Hey gorgeous, we interrupt this gold for a delicious invitation. If your whole body has been whispering more lately, more voice, more truth, more satisfaction, more clients of the soulmate variety, more cash, more you, then this invitation is for you. Potent, my sister mind is officially open. This is my high touch, holy fuck, I'm ready sister mind for rebels in good girl clothing who are done outsourcing their power and diluting their magic to fit into someone else's business formula. If you have been craving a space where your strategy, your voice, and your energy all get to be offered, honored, refined, and amplified, this is it. Inside of Potent, you'll get my eyes on your business every single week, copy mentoring, and that is for brand copy and content storytelling that turns your truth into client catnip, energetic recalibration that helps you unhook old learned limitation patterns, keeping you quiet, not being seen, not being heard, real-time, high-touch, one-on-one coaching that actually sees the bigness of your vision, and the kind of sisterhood that does not flinch when you show up in your full, messy, brilliant, phoenix rising from the ashes glory. This isn't surface level support. It's deep, potent, paradigm shifting work that changes who you are as a woman in business and a woman in life. We start in August. Early open access is open right now. For the month of June 2025, inside of this early access open doors period, you will receive juicy bonuses, extended payment plans, and access immediately to my entire library of storytelling gold. You'll find all the juicy details at kyliepatchett.com/potent. And we fill spaces, and there's only 10 of them, and more than likely only 5 by the time you listen to this, because by that time I will have offered them to the existing cohort, the beautiful original OG circle. We do actually take applications on a first come, first served basis. So come and apply, and let's get back to the magic of the episode.
But to make these micro attunements, right? Like I'm not doing like huge excavations of something brand new. What it is I'm often doing is someone is connecting the dots of a lot of the work that they've done before. And it's like that last little piece, like you pull that little energetic lever, it's like everything else is in place.
Now everything's open. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Can take that leap. You need to have the foundation underneath that in terms of you need to know what it is you're selling. You've got to have experience with business. You've got to have access to a network and a clientele. I can't wave a magic wand around any of those things.
There's no skipping any of that, people.
As it turns out, unfortunately. Yeah. So it's been really fun to build out a body of work around the money piece.
So I'm interested to hear how, because last time we were talking about unconscious vows and removal of splinters. And so
yes,
what's the juxtaposition? That's a big word for this time of the afternoon. I don't even know what that means at this time of the day. What is the overlap? I'm going to use that word instead of like because a lot of the time when I'm speaking with you, you have this really cool ability to pattern recognize and bring it back to it's the same root cause, but these are the ways that it plays out. And so if we just go down here and pull the splinter out, then everything becomes a lot more easeful. And it's not that hustle and grind and sustainable ick that sometimes we can try and emphasize. So what was the evolution of that, and how do they overlap?
Yeah, great question. Again, I just love it. You're just like so attuned. You're one of the best.
Kind of my jam. I keep on saying, what would be the best splinter for you to remove for me? Figure out how to monetize a podcast so I can do this full time. That is what I would like to do.
All
Interviewing
right.
is the, I know, right?
Challenge
Like,
accepted.
what?
Don't
Yes,
throw
anyway.
down a gauntlet with me.
It's like a red rag to our energy
Right.
finding.
Oh, this is going to be so.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So the really interesting thing is that inside of a session, I'm actually doing an unconscious vow and a splinter removal. So
Gotcha.
again, I can't remember exactly how I was describing it earlier last year, but I'll describe it here now. And
Yes.
essentially, because this work is actually so energetic, it has taken me so many times of speaking through it to find the ways where I'm describing it with integrity and it's landing in a way that's comprehensible.
That is literally the challenge that I have with working with copywriting, with spiritual healers and helpers. Take the nebulous thing and wrap language around it, which really is very difficult to do when it's so nebulous, and then have it actually make sense to people. Anyway,
Correct.
continue.
Correct.
Stop interrupting.
No, it's perfect because the challenge is real. And so I first started speaking about this method, which I've developed, which is really a modality. And I can speak into what a session looks like as well, for the reason that I think that will actually cast a little bit more light. But just a little bit more context is that I started speaking about the splinters in 2018.
Yeah.
In fact, I recently surfaced a video of me in New York speaking about the splinters, which was fascinating, and how I discovered the splinters, which is also a very cool story, which we can bookmark and go to.
Yes,
and then
please.
Then I wrote a proposal for a book,
Yes.
which was actually never published. So that book was called Magnetic, and I wrote about the splinters in that book at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019.
I don't think that I actually have heard that part of the story, because magnetic happens to be one of my favorite words.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Amazing.
Magnetic, radiant. Anyway.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So there's a whole other story again. I don't want to keep open looping you, but there's a whole other story about
because my brain will be like,
I know, what am I doing here? I got
so good.
Stay focused.
All good, all good. All good.
I'll come back and draw it all together, and happy to double click on anything. But the book was also where I spoke about the splinters as essentially blocking the flow, or having us be repellent, or the opposite of magnetic, and obviously wanting to take the splinters out in order to come home to ourselves. So then we're really magnetizing towards us all the opportunities that are correct and right for us. We're able to really live in alignment with our highest vision and our highest mission and our service to humanity. So that was that book. Then I switched focus and started talking about it in terms of the unconscious vows, because what happens with the unconscious vow is that it basically sits at the top of a channel, and there's 3 channels that I see when I look at a human. So I see the power channel run down the right-hand side, the love channel down the middle, and the peace channel down the left-hand side. So the unconscious vow.
Yes.
So these are like energetic.
I'm just getting a picture. Yes.
I love that. I saw
brain.
you construct that visual. But I love that. I would never play poker. So at the top of each one of these channels is an unconscious vow, which is essentially an agreement that we make with ourselves to keep ourselves safe, or to keep ourselves in the familiarity zone would be a better way of perhaps phrasing that. So it's an unconscious agreement, meaning that it might not make sense to our conscious mind. And a great example of that would be, hey, let's just talk about it in the context of the work that I do. I'm an entrepreneur making 6 figures. I want to make 7 figures. Consciously, that's the goal. I'm going for it. Unconsciously, I've decided to stay in the familiarity zone, because what would that mean? It would mean that I would lose people who I care about. It would mean that I would have greater visibility, and that would be scary and dangerous for me on a physical level and for my family. I wouldn't know what to do with the money. There's all the reasons why we make these unconscious vows or these unconscious agreements to stay in the familiarity zone. And obviously, this is what generates a huge amount of resistance and sometimes chaos, which might look like self-sabotage at the point at which we actually go for the outlaw, right?
Yes. Gotcha.
So the first thing I always need to do when I'm working with someone is to find and release the unconscious vow. Once we surface the unconscious vow into the conscious, by definition, it no longer exists. It's not unconscious. And so we're able to let it go.
It's not running us on autopilot.
Correct.
Yes.
Exactly. So whilst I was working with the splinters in 2018, I really brought in the unconscious vow aspect in 2019, particularly when I was working in the area of love.
Yes.
and working
yes.
with helping women to recover from toxic relationships, which is the coaching program that I ran for 5 years.
Yeah.
And that was harkening back to that initial career that I had. My PhD was in therapeutic jurisprudence, so women had been subjected to domestic violence and abuse. So it was like, that was a big career arc in terms of healthy relationships and self-worth and so forth. So that's why I refined this method, the splinter removal method and the unconscious vow, which is all part of the same thing through the lens of love. So that was like, that was my, exactly right. So that was my that was my training ground, if you will. And I ran a 12-week program, and it used to take me 12 weeks to help people think out there.
I can imagine. Be like, I want love, but I keep on repeating the same. Yes.
Indeed. Exactly. So now I do it in 90 minutes, but it took me a long time to get it so distilled into the same experience. So that's the first part, the unconscious vow. Now, why do we make an unconscious vow? As we alluded to before, it's literally to keep ourselves safe, right? Like, it looks like self-sabotage, but in reality, it's self-protection.
Yeah.
So what are we protecting ourselves against? That's the vulnerability or the pain that comes along with the splinter. And what is a splinter? That's the way that life has pierced us or pierced our consciousness.
Oh, I remember you saying that last time. It's all coming back to me. Yes. This is why I love the language of splinter, because it's when you get a really bad big splinter, and that is all you can literally feel, and it's this little tiny thing, but it's literally in my awareness all the time. And so that's why I really like the language, because I can feel how frustrating it is to have this thing, but kind of not to be able to identify where it is, or how do I remove it, or why am I making this mistake again, and all of that. Making yourself wrong for things, I think. That's where my brain goes. It's like, why can I not just figure this out?
Exactly, which is in a nutshell. And again, just totally nailed it, because the reality is that a splinter is just that. Like, it's just, imagine you're walking outside with bare feet and it's like a tiny little shard of wood. It's actually not a big deal. You have the tools to remove it at the time.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Continue.
And I actually see splinters in people. That was part of the spiritual awakening that I had on the 15th of March, 2011. So it was a long time until I fully figured out how to take the splinters out.
Gotcha.
I've been circling around this for so many years, as I've alluded to, but it was only really, as I said, when I was working with Relove, when I was working with women with the love splinters, that I figured out, really honing into how I could take it out, and then realizing that it's also universal, right? Like, we don't just have love splinters. The splinters are splintering our power, love, and peace channel. So for example, if you're saying, or if you catch yourself saying, what's wrong with me? That's a good sign that the splinter or the primary splinter is in the power channel.
I was going to say, you're going to say power. I don't do. You're going to say power. Sure am.
So what makes you say that?
Just because it feels like a continuing theme of being scared to step into the full power. So I'm like, there's got to be something. Like, I don't feel like peace or love is my Achilles heel, either of those things. But there's definitely, has been a continuing kind of theme of, and actually when I look back at the podcast interview I did before we were recording this one was about someone who had gone through certain things in childhood, and I was reflecting afterwards, and I'm like, far out, when those things happen and someone does something to you which is incorrect and unsafe with power over, often the response, and it certainly has been in my life, is to try and have power over other people as a protective mechanism. So as we're talking, I'm like, another layer just appearing before my eyes here. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And that power from, I just came back from a retreat, an amazing, oh my God, like a life-changing retreat all around the feminine, with a friend of mine who's a psychotherapist who works with tantric sex and menopause and masculine and feminine. And we're talking about power over, power from within, power this, power that. And I just had so many like chiropractic adjustments of how I was like, whoa, okay. Yeah, wow. That's very cool. So you see these like in a session, or maybe I'll leave that until you actually describe how a session works, because that would be a better place to ask that.
Yeah. I think we could dive into that now, I think, because it makes sense. So in a session is 3 parts. And so the first part is the unconscious vow removal. And so there's a particular series of questions that I ask someone. Now, it's really interesting because to answer the question you actually just asked me, which is that I see the splinter, I do. I see the splinter in people.
Yeah.
However, what I found to be so much more effective and potent is to lead someone into their own connection with their own splinter through their own words. So I have designed a very specific series of words and questions and prompts in the surfacing of the unconscious vow. And I've done this thousands of times, right? Like I said, there's been a lot of trial and error with this, but I've got it super dialed. So then we can really get the conscious mind on board. Because if the conscious mind is not on board, then what the mind is going to do, it's going to continue to generate all the stories and narratives that are simply the mind doing its job to protect yourself, right?
Get the fireworks out. We're burning alive. Something bad is happening. Yes.
Correct. And so everything that I'm doing, I'm seeing, like, I'm not manipulating or tricking or hypnotizing or anything. Someone is fully awake and lucid, and I'm explaining each single part of the process so that someone's mind is fully on board. So I only work with people who are incredibly self-aware, who've already done a lot of work. This is not a therapy session. It's like, why am I not earning 500K a year or 500K a month? Like, it really depends upon the individual that I'm working with. I've got the goal. I'm doing all of the work. I've got the strategy. And yet I keep meeting stubborn resistance. I know I need to get out of my own way, but I don't know how. So that's the,
if you're not watching the video, I'm crossing my eyes at myself.
we are all there time and time again, because this is a really interesting thing. And I think this is something which is so beautiful from the perspective of self-compassion, self-forgiveness, which is the absolute heart. What I call the magical magnoplasm formula, which is the way that I actually draw the splinter out, which is that I do not go jabbing with tweezers, to continue the metaphor, to try to like find the thing that hurt.
It's dig it out with the scalpel.
Correct. We all have enough of that in our lives, right? This is a very gentle feminine practice which works with that principle of magnetism. Like the way that I'm creating the experience, and we get into part 2 of the process, which is where we find and remove the splinter. And again, there's a very specific series of prompts and a dialogue that I lead someone through while I'm doing that. But I'm really working with energy as well. So I do this over Zoom, but it's a combination of someone with their eyes closed. By the time we get to part 2, someone's really inside of an internal experience. There's breath work involved. We're really working with this medicine of self-compassion and self-forgiveness, but not in an intellectual way. Like it's very much felt in the body. It's a felt sense, and I can catch the center where it is and I track into it. And so it's like a little bit of, again, let's work with the visual of the splinter in the left little toe. It doesn't matter how great you are at taking out splinters if you're looking in the right heel for the problem, so to speak. It's all about knowing exactly where to look with precision. And so understanding that track is part of what it is that I'm doing, partly through the part 1 process with the unconscious vow, because the unconscious vow and the specificities of the unconscious vow is going to point us straight shot to the splinter, which is going to be underneath in terms of the energetic channel. And so once we're in there with that level of precision, then it's essentially I'm holding the magnoplasm there. And magnoplasm, if you're not familiar with it, is an actual ointment which you can apply on the skin to draw splinters up to the
I know. When you said that, I was like, did I hear that correctly?
Indeed.
So cool.
Which is, so drawing it out in part 2 using this really beautiful feminine practice is a key part of the release process. And there's an actual palpable release when it comes out, right? Like I can feel it and the other person can feel it as well. Like you can feel it when it comes out, which is so incredibly cool. I'm obviously working with, again, highly attuned individuals.
Yeah, you wouldn't be trying this. Yes. Someone I know who's, that's fine. Good.
Yeah. Exactly. And usually we're not traversing brand new territory. As I mentioned before, we're literally coming at it from the side. So when I say that, we're coming at it from the perspective that the conscious mind doesn't usually approach it. So we're able to find that blind spot, if you will, or we're able to find the place where the mind stories or narratives about what reality is or what is possible for me or like
Yes.
how hard I would have to work to earn $1 million, for example. Like that's a classic.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep. That's sort of like
because
a
I
lot of work. Yep.
that sounds like a lot of work, or I haven't seen any other examples of other women doing that in this way.
Yeah.
And so the mind will spin these stories. So we actually do need to come at it from the side to connect with our own deeper inner wisdom and inner truth.
Yeah.
Take the splinter out in part 2, and then that brings us into part 3, which is the true state. And the reason why I call it the true state is because what it is that I'm doing with someone is not reprogramming the subconscious mind. I'm literally supporting them to remove impediments from them being truly and authentically themselves.
Yeah.
And someone's true state is always going to be one of personal power, self-love, wholeness, coherence. That is who we all are in our essence. The unconscious hour is going to be a set of internal, like limiting beliefs or the types of internal conversations that we have with ourselves, which are always a symptom, not the cause, not the root. The splinter is actually something that is external to us.
Yeah.
And this is really important because it's a foreign object. It's the way that life has entered you, either in this lifetime or from before this lifetime. It is not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong.
Isn't that a nicer place to rest than a lot of ways to approach things? Actually, as you're talking, it's the polar opposite of thinking, as a lot of us have been conditioned, that what the answer is to put more time or more effort or more something, like try harder. And actually, by the sound of it, we're just removing something that is like dirt on the windshield of who you really are or how you're naturally designed to be and how you're born being until the world gets up in our grill and has its way with us or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's really interesting is that sometimes we inherit splinters. So we also can be born, for example, inheriting things down the ancestral line. So things that, for example, transcend behavioral modeling in the childhood home. They might actually be things that happened like our grandparents. Like I once had a session with someone and the splinter was a splinter that had happened to her father before she was born, but it came out with so much clarity during the session. And she was like, this is one of the common things I hear in a session, like, how did we get there? We're literally doing this on Zoom over 90 minutes and I'm fully lucid and awake. You're like, how did we get there? And it doesn't necessarily make sense to the conscious mind. And yet it all does at the end. And when we have the clarity as to how we move forward from there, because that's going to also be in your true state, which is not just a change in energetic state, which is something that we need to keep working with over time, but also what is going to be the easiest and the fastest way for me now to make more money without doing more?
Yes.
How do
and
I show
without
up?
that dirt on the windshields telling me I need to do something that's actually not the truth of how it could unfold in the most flow and easeful way. Very cool. How often in a session, like I know you just said, how do we get there? Is it more likely that people are aware of some of the story that is the unconscious vow, or do you find most often people, we've done layers of healing here, we've done X, Y, Z, whatever, and then what shows up in a session is not an expected thing? Or is it maybe a mix? I don't know whether there's an answer on it.
I would say in every single session, people say, oh my gosh, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, because I think if you can get there with your conscious mind alone already, you would have.
Yeah.
People are only turning to the work that I do when they haven't been able to figure it out yet. Like I work with massively successful people, action takers.
They're not just hanging around waiting for it to fall in their lap.
Correct.
It's very cool. Do you find, because I'm going back to the re-love stuff that we talked about last time, do you agree with the idea that how you do one thing, you do everything? And so if this imbalance turned up in your love/partnership life, then your ability to receive through flow financially is also impacted, or do you not
What is really interesting with money is that the growth is actually infinite. And so what I find is that by the time people come to work with me, they're not, say, grappling with worthiness issues, which would have them get into relationships with toxic people, as one example, right?
Gotcha.
You know?
Yes.
And so there'll be like a certain level of coherence or completion, for lack of a better word. What I mean by completion is they have their channels open and flowing up to a certain point. The difficulty comes when they choose to up level again.
Gotcha.
And so I'm also working with, not to throw too many of my magical systems and frameworks into the mix, but I think this one's going to be relevant. Is that I also work with these golden elevators. What I mean by that is that, for example, entrepreneurs might come to me because they want to raise their revenue, either on a monthly basis or an annual basis. But sometimes entrepreneurs might come to me because they want to do a capital raise. I've worked with women who are raising capital from $10 million to $100 million. And that's actually different from generating cash through your business. It's a different golden elevator, if you will. So sometimes I'm working with people who are wanting to raise their monthly revenue or their annual revenue. And then sometimes I'm working with entrepreneurs who are wanting to raise capital. So I've worked with entrepreneurs who've raised $10 million in capital, $100 million in capital. And so what might happen is someone might have a really great salary already, might be really comfortable raising $10 million. But it's a bit like that Winston Churchill quote, which is that like the better backwards you go, then the higher you can go. I'm talking about higher in terms of golden elevators, but further into the future, you can actually see. And so someone may not have any issues in their life at all until they take that next big swing up. And then when they take that next big swing up, something that actually truly terrifies them or they think is not possible for them, then it might kick up splinters, if you will, that are latent, that haven't caused any issues before.
They haven't gone there before.
They haven't gone there before. And you know what? They may have like really beautiful, healthy relationships grounded in self-worth. Like they might have really mastered that area of that. Of their life in that area, or they may not have really had a lot of splinters in that area of their life. And yet they may still find that a love splinter is exposed at the point at which they go for the next big raise. And so what that might look like is asking, who am I to ask for that much money? Or who am I as a woman to raise capital?
Yes, that was one of my questions.
Categories. So it's like some of these splinters are actually not even personal. Maybe they're inherited down the family line, but they can also be collective.
That's
like
what I was going to say.
Working with things that are really big archetypal level as well when we go for that next big upgrade. And money, I think, is the ultimate in terms of that transformation because it literally can keep going up.
It's so interesting. As you're talking, it's something that I put on a bookmark way back when I wrote my first book. And it basically, it's not basically, the words are, you're never a victim of your circumstances. You're only ever a victim of what you believe is possible. And as you're talking about it's like, I can master to 10 million. That doesn't feel like a stretch to me. I've already done that. I'm already comfortable being a woman whatever the internal language is. But it's like, when I go for something that I haven't gone before, then you can see anywhere where there's that, if you go back to the dirt on the windshield or the splinter, like you can become aware of it for the first time. When you're working, so you always work with women or also work with men?
I sometimes work with men. I would say that it's mostly women for the reason that women tend to be already really on board with the concept of energy. I don't want to be in a conversation where I'm working against someone's resistance about whether what it is that I do is real.
You're selling
I'm
the
not
concept.
interested.
No.
I'm not interested.
I'm not available for that.
The
reason I ask that is because do you see different versions depending on gender conditioning and socialization? I guess that's where my question was going.
Amazing question. I would say for women, they want more ease. For men, they're excited by the challenge. Gross simplification in terms of gender, but that's in my small, like really small sample of clientele. I would say that's the primary difference.
Which then makes me want to say more money in the hands of women who are Because to me, there's nothing wrong with wanting the challenge. I understand that. But as you said, challenge, my brain was going, and the men are seeking the status or the whatever, which may not be fair and it may not be true in the work that you do. But I'm just wondering, it feels, I don't know, it feels like I've been reading a really cool book by Sam Garcia about regenerative business and the concepts behind that, which I'm rereading. And one of the things that I really love about what she does in the world is she is creating amazing income for herself and her family, and very loudly saying that gives her the ability to invest in what she believes needs to be funded. So for her, that's regenerative agriculture and returning land in Hawaii to its original healthy self over time, obviously. And that has been really speaking to me. It's if we have more money and therefore more choice and more freedom in the hands of women who are driven by potentially different things, then maybe that's part of the solution for a lot of things. I know that's a gross oversimplification. What do you find so someone will come and have a session. What are the crazy things that have happened as a result? Like things that I'm sure you constantly get DMs or emails going, holy geez, Louise, this, like your golden elevator is, I'm in a penthouse and I keep going. It's, look, I almost feel like sometimes I even just need to be careful about what it is that I say for the reason that I don't want to seem like I'm selling snake oil, because it also depends on where someone is in terms of their business circumstances when they come in. But I've had people coming in to a session with me and, walk out and make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in the following week, but to do it with like more ease and peace. And I can't believe how neutral this feels. I can't believe how incredible this feels. I've had people within 24 hours like hit delusional income goals. Raise the $10 million within 24 hours. And again, I just need to be super careful as I talk about this just from an ethical perspective. I understand that. But the reason I ask is because to me, if you're just going back to your natural state, which is, ease, peace, flow, everything that's yours is coming to you because there is no turbulence, no splinters in the way, no unconscious shizzle going on. It must, create quite phenomenally crazy realities. I guess that's what I'm trying to sort of say. And maybe a better question is, when someone comes into a session, how are you feeling about where they are? Is there a sense of frustration or a sense of like bewilderment of like, I can't figure this out and I'm used to figuring things out? And then after, where are they feeling wise?
That's a great question. I would say people come in with more of a sense of curiosity at the level at which I'm working with people.
Yep.
I think when we dig into it, if there's frustration there, we will find it.
Yeah. Maybe that's just my generator language of
and it is going to be there, particularly if we're working in the power channel, which is interesting that you bring it up again. That's a bit of a tell. But sometimes part of what it is that I'm doing is that because we're working with such a micro adjustment, like it really is that tiny little splinter in the left little toe, they may even have difficulty accessing the emotion for the reason that it's not that big a deal. And it may not even fit with the identity that they have for themselves.
Yeah, gotcha.
I'm not a person that beats myself up or regrets my choices, or I'm not a person, I don't hold the identity of someone who like isn't fully in receiving mode. Like I'm great at receiving. I'm always in my feminine. I'm a really soft CEO and all of that is true, but we find the little parts where there's still some rigidity and holding. Again, it's below the level of the conscious mind. And so that's part of what makes this process so amazing, I think, because then you can really relax into that identity of someone who gets to receive in feminine flow, someone who gets to rise with less effort and more ease because of all those foundational building blocks are in place, and the grinding and the hustle is at this point just a habit, and it's a habit of serving.
Gotcha. It sounds like it's the word that keeps coming to my mind is delicate work, almost like it's the fine tuning. Like I have this sense of you just, we're not talking about this huge resistance that's stopping you from getting to this level. It's just like I don't know, it's like the icing on the cake or the fine tuning. The delicate is the word that keeps coming to me. How do you experience these sessions? Thinking back to when you were mainly doing relove, and as you so beautifully put it, like that natural arc of where you started, what your PhD was in, and I don't want to say closing the circle because that probably may not feel right, but that arc of where that work naturally unfolded to, how does this feel compared to that work for you?
That's an interesting question. I feel one thing which is super interesting is that with each session that I do with someone, I'm there as the facilitator, but something happened inside of me as well. There's something that's like there's like a battery pack effect, right? Where something shifts and changes inside of me. So what that means is that my growth, my internal growth, my own consciousness is very rapidly shifting, evolving and expanding.
Yeah.
So I find it difficult now to even go back and feel like how it felt a few years ago when I was working more directly in terms of helping women to rebuild their sense of self. So I think probably one thing is that the work that I did, say, inside of Relove, and I said before, it used to take me to my own like skill level and experience about 12 weeks to take a splinter out of someone, which is still amazingly fast in the sense that they had a life-changing transformation.
But compared to having it for your entire life, I'm sure that they were appreciative.
Exactly. But then people would say oftentimes, keep renewing and maybe work with me in a container over a period of 12 months. And we'd look at other parts of self. Like I'd say that there was probably, I don't think deeper work is quite right. It's maybe there was some heavier work that was happening there because of the nature of the issues that I was working.
Yes.
Whereas I'd say now, again, you've hit the nail on the head. It's more that there are subtle internal shifts.
Oh, subtle is a better word than delicate. Yes. Yeah.
So I think that there's been a refinement inside of myself, inside of the type of clientele that I now attract. And I'm not meaning to say it's better or worse. Like it's just in a way it's different. So I would say that the results of the work that I do now is exponential. And so incredibly observable in the sense that like money is a metric that can be very easily like documented and quantified. Exactly. Obviously, when you're in the situation of dating and love, you can quantify that in the sense of so many people that I worked with got engaged or got married and had babies. It's like there is a quantification measure. But people would perhaps talk about it as being like more like of a hard left turn, like a 180.
Yes. Gotcha.
Versus, I think, speaking into this theme of delicacy or the internal shifts, there's something that's more simple, subtle, and there's a levity to it. And yet there's still amazing results.
Yes. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that's very cool. I wonder if, as you're saying, there's something that happens inside of you as well. And you said battery pack. I'm feeling like, I'm sure you have, if you've been in a group of people who are tapping and you talk about like the borrowing benefits of tapping together. Have you ever heard no? When you're doing one-on-one emotional freedom technique with a trained practitioner, that's one thing. And then if that same practitioner is leading a group of people and someone is voicing something that is a concern or an issue for them or whatever, and you're working on that, everyone's tapping, and there's a concept called borrowing benefits where there's an energetic shift for the person who is being worked with directly, but there's a concept that the energy whatever parts of you that are also resonating with any of that story in whatever form it's turning up in you is also unraveling. So I wonder whether it's, I don't know, the same kind of thing in that because you're working with energy, because it's not discrete in one person's body. So maybe there's some magical stuff happening for you as well. I don't know. What do you think is happening? Who cares?
Yes. I mean, why it's working. Yeah, I guess I had some theories around it. I feel like it's very generative. Whatever it is that I'm doing,
Gotcha.
it's incredibly generative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because we're not working at the deep foundational level. We're literally like together when I'm in a session with somebody, we're literally like, and what would it look like to put this gargoyle on the like how can we make the building even prettier? So I think that there's something in me in the co-creative process. Like we're making something really cool together.
Yes.
So I'm so in it with them. I'm feeling it.
Yeah, you're marinating.
You're
basting in good vibes. I love it.
Exactly. I love it. Exactly. And the other thing actually is that once I take the splinter out in someone, because we're working specifically with money and career, right? Because I'm working, money doesn't always have to come through career, but because I'm working with entrepreneurs who are really motivated to see their vision made manifest in the world, we're working with oftentimes which is a deep soul calling or a deep soul gift. And look, and that can be the case. I work with product-based entrepreneurs, brick and mortar entrepreneurs. I'm not just working with coaches. I work across different industries. But one thing I can see once I take the splinter out is that I can also see into someone in terms of what is your blueprint, if you will. What is your soul gift? And I also get to experience that. And people have very different soul gifts. So I get this almost, we're too esoteric about it, but this direct transmission from them because they're really open in that container that we're dropping into running this process in. And I get to have the experience, not just of seeing, but also of literally like feeling and perceiving what is on a really deep level. Why are they here? Like, why did they incarnate? What do they have for the planet?
Yeah.
And so I think there's something which is also really generative for me in that because we get to, on some level, receive that and we get to experience that together. We get to talk about it. We get to riff on it. I always have a Telegram channel afterwards. So we keep going. Exactly. Like I get to participate. I get to be a collaborator. And I might be working with someone who has like a huge audience, right? Because this is one-on-one work. It's only one-on-one work at this time. And I might be working with someone who has a huge audience. And so I feel like there's still an element of impact that I have beyond the individual sitting in front of me.
Yeah, because it ripples out. As you're speaking about how that feels for you, I guess really in a nutshell, you're experiencing what it is to have you're personifying your mission. Like you're actually experiencing what you desire to be your impact in the world. So you're actually in that energy experiencing exactly that. So that is very cool and also totally makes sense that it's generative because obviously that is your gift. And so therefore, that's so cool. That's so cool. It is like a battery pack. It's plugging into the very thing that lights me up the most.
I love a good upward spiral.
It's very cool. I know we need to come to the end because I've made a promise to myself to not have 2-hour episodes. Anyway, what I wanted to revisit though, we talked about love, peace, power, but is there, I don't know whether this is easy to do in a summary, but can you give us some examples of some of the money splinters that people can have in the different channels? And then I also want to talk to you about the quiz that you have, because that is a way that people can help themselves to understand this and how it shows up for them. So is it easy enough to do? I don't know.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
I love that. So I'd say that peace would look like someone who is having trouble delegating. So they've hit an income lid or an income ceiling. And And here's a really interesting thing, because we can have trouble delegating in any of the channels, but peace will have a particular flavor to it. And that flavor to it is taking over responsibility. So there's a malfunction there, right? So that is going to limit the capacity for growth, but it's also going to limit the ability for other people to be involved in the mission, right? Like, not every single person is meant to be highly visible and is meant to be leading an organization. Like, some people's mission is to support other people in the leading of that organization. And that hyper independence, or the rigidity that can come with a splintered peace channel, can be detrimental for all involved in the execution of the mission, as well as choking the money, because it's repellent to money.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And, so
And it's also, it's by definition, you're the limiting factor. Like, if you can't do any more, then that's it. If you don't have any more time, energy, space, etc., then welcome to your own internal lid. It's like, my head's getting sore here.
exactly.
Sense.
Yeah. And when we dig into why, I never know. Like, someone can present, I can see the peace method, right? But I can't necessarily see why it's there, where it came from. That's part of what we unlock in part 2 of the experience. And this is why the series of prompts that I ask leads someone to come into a dialogue with themselves on a much deeper level. And a classic sign with the peace splinter is someone who was put in a parental role as a child.
Can you please stop?
I'm like, she's just about to say something about over responsibility as a kid. Yes, continue.
I actually do feel like I've come a long way on that one. But anyway, continue.
I think we all have. And one of the things which is really interesting when we think about going to like the new level, new devil, like we've all heard that, very common phrase. Sometimes it can be the new level, old devil. And that's what I think is really important to approach this from a lens of self-compassion, self-forgiveness. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's not like none of your healing or your 20 years of therapy hasn't worked, because here you are like, dealing with the same thing again. No, it's only because you've done the 20 years of therapy or whatever that you're even able at this point to consider going to the next level and have that degree of fluency and articulation around what is going on. So then, just to come back to that Winston Churchill quote, it's then, again, the further back you go, which might be childhood, but not always, as we've been talking about, it can actually track so much further back than that. Then again, like the further into the future that you can see. And so a lot of what I do with people is there's, again, like really leaning into that self-compassion and self-forgiveness. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. The fact that this is presenting again now is not an indication that you're doomed or damaged or broken. It's actually an indication that you're about to go to the next level, which is so tremendously exciting. So that's an example of peace. And then love. Somebody who, we touched on it before, like you asked the question, in terms of love, there's oftentimes some sort of lack in one's personal relationships. When we're talking about the love channel, we're really talking about self-love. However, if you don't have self-love, it may well be that you're not really pouring into your love life, your platonic relationships, your family relationships, or your relationship with yourself. And a classic thing you might say is, who am I to? Who am I to ask for this? Like, imposter who am I to? Correct. Exactly. I feel so guilty having this amount of, and so working through a lot of the feminine unconscious vows and splinters on the collective level, again, can come up when we're going to that next level in terms of money, whether that be really dialing up the revenue, whether that be the capital raising, whether that be the network. There are other golden elevators as well, but those are the two main ones that I'm working with. And we may not even realize that we're holding that like guilt or shame until we try to, again, hit that next big goal and experience what is almost like an invisible barrier, like to get there. So, okay. All right.
Indicator here.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the point that you're making before about the women investing and the way that when money is in the hands of women, I think we will see it very different planets. Even coming back to, it's relevant, I think, speaking about the love channel as well, coming back to domestic violence. Like when you look at what is the primary driver across all nations globally, it's gender inequality, specifically through financial inequality. And so it's so important, I think, on so many levels of society, whether you're talking about someone who's investing in regenerative agriculture, or whether you're talking about, an individual woman has access to finances to be able to fund her own life, that there needs to be a rebalancing in terms of the availability of capital, which doesn't mean anyone loses. It doesn't mean it's about actually we all get to gain and fear for the win. But anyway, there's a lot to work through on that level, on personal level, or collective level. So then power, we touched on that a little bit before, but I think a classic one with power is that sense of not being able to stop because you think that if you stop, you're going to lose it all. And so, for example, you would have seen this as well. You're worried at $100,000 a year, you're going to not have enough money or it's all going to fall apart if you stop. But then you're still worrying at $500,000 a year in terms of revenue, or $1 billion a year in terms of revenue, because it's a habit, right? And what's the habit? The habit is one of scarcity. And of course, it's never someone's fault. Like it comes from a splinter. And this is why I think this is actually a really empowering approach, because there's literally nothing wrong with you if you are experiencing this. It's just really normal. In fact, it's part of the human condition. This is just what it looks like. And the problem is that if you don't address this and you keep amassing, money will simply amplify what is already going on underneath the surface. So the more money you make, the more scared you're going to be about losing it, and the more miserable you're going to become. It's not because money is the problem. It's because the money splinter is the problem. And the money is just turning up the floodlight on that splinter.
How do you feel the language of money block has ended up feeling to us? Because I guess I've always felt like the term money block, to me at least, has a sense of like almost blame or something. Like the block means that there's something that I don't get, or something that I don't understand, or something that I've done to myself. Whereas the language of the splinter and the returning to a natural state feels gentler and subtler, but also I can see that through a lens of self-compassion a lot more easily than when I think money block. And I don't know, this is probably just my personal interpretation, but I know I definitely have friends that always, like, often will be talking about something and they're like, oh, I'm letting money blocks are turning up again. Like it's been made into this kind of, I don't know, funny shit that entrepreneurs say when they're not doing something that they should be or something. What do you feel about the language? Because, I'm interested.
I guess it's not language that I use. It's not language that I resonate with, but it's also not language that I really think about. And part of that is because of the way this happened for me, which is that I just started seeing splinters. So I'm not thinking about it in terms of concepts. I'm just describing what it is that I see. And so because it came from the love splinters, and then I opened it up and I was like, I reckon actually people started to ask me to do it on different topics other than love. And then I realized that money was the most interesting thing for me in terms of the splinters. I think that arc of how I landed here is relevant in that. The one thing that I would say in relation to this is that it sounds to me, in the way that you've just been describing money blocks, it sounds to me like that's the top layer of what I work with, meaning the unconscious vow, right? Because the unconscious vow in the system that I work with, the layered system, part one of the process actually is internally generated, right? Like it's going to be a limiting belief, if you will. It's going to be the decision that you make with yourself to keep yourself small. So it is
and safe,
I guess, a very easy way for you to get out of your own way by meeting yourself. I think where that approach misses the depth and the fullness of what this could be is through the ask, why is the block there in the first place? And I'm not just because of the way that I see someone when I'm looking at the energy, the block or the creation of the vow is only ever a self-protection mechanism. It's like an energetic workaround to try to make sense and order of reality and to not cause oneself more pain or harm.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a compassionate lens to take from the first place around that. Because the thing is, we're not stupid. If there's anything that we're doing to hold ourselves back, there's a reason.
Yes, exactly.
There's a reason.
And in one lens of looking at it, thank you, self, for creating this. And now it's not serving me. That there's a reason for it. And I think that's a very good point to make, because it does take the blame out of it, because it's, okay, this was formed as a protective mechanism. And now the repeating of it doesn't feel comfortable or isn't allowing me to create what I want or in the way that I want it. And therefore, I'm ready to look at it from, a different way. Thinking about the quiz, when we were talking about the 3 different channels then, does the quiz help people identify where their splinter will be? Or potentially is? Okay, great.
Yeah, so it's just a super sweet and simple, where's your money splinter quiz. It's free. It takes 2 minutes and you'll get an email with your result, and then also a little 2-minute meditation to help to work with that. So it's a nice little taste of the themes that we've been speaking into.
Perfect. One thing we have not talked about, and we are out of time, but I do want to give a shout out, because just recently you released some reflection cards and a beautiful little moon lamp, which for the people watching on the video, I've got my little moon lamp here. It's so cute. I'm obsessed with it.
Cute.
I'm obsessed with it too. Oh, so much detail. Anyway, would you like to tell people about that very quickly, and then we'll wrap up?
Yeah. And so it's just been a really fun project to release a product line, and it's out globally. So it's in Walmart and Target in the US and major retailers internationally, which has been amazing. And so it's the Lunar Abundance Reflection card deck and guidebook and the little mini moon lamp. And that's a continuation of the series that I've been writing and publishing in for nearly a decade now. At last count, a couple of years ago, I'd sold over 40,000 copies of that book series over multiple titles worldwide. And so it's a really beautiful way to start to connect with your own intuition, your own well-being. It's because you're working with the moon cycle to cultivate joy, peace, and purpose. So it's something which is so practical and workable, working with the different phases of the moon. And the reflection cards are a way to make the practice just so accessible for daily life now. You can pull a card, have it on your
That's what I do. I don't have them out because I have my journal and my tarot deck and your cards and my oils and whatever. But there they are. Perfect. I take it all out into our outside table, but they're still out there. Otherwise, I would be able to show you. Actually, my card for today was. I can't think, because it was before my first podcast, which is many thousands of words ago.
Should I pull a card right now for everybody listening?
Yes. Okay.
So a really nice. I know. I didn't know I was going to do this. That's very fun and spontaneous. So I am going to ask the question: what is the primary area that's blocking our abundance, that's blocking our money? The cards are not specifically about the money splinters, but I use this question around blocking money and abundance all the time. And they're really, because they're abundance cards, they love this question. The cards are
I know, they're like,
that's really nice. Okay. So the card that I pulled is
just
fill
the illustration.
your cups. Yeah, fill your own cup.
Very cool. I think I'll have to DM you later. I think mine it's either the surrender one or the you need rest. Go put your feet up. No, it's after the podcast. But I find these chats are regenerative for me. So yes, it is filling my cup. And thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you back. We will make sure that we've got all of those links that we've talked about today, including back to the first session, that first episode that we recorded. I'm going to have to look at the date because it feels like it's about 10 years since we last spoke. But also the link to the quiz and everything. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and sharing your modality with us as well, because it's such a beautiful it's a treat to hear how someone else unfolds their work in an experiential way. That's quite special. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. And thank you for your amazing questions. You're so unbelievably perceptive. Insightful. It's a joy to speak with you. Thank you so much, Ezzie. See you later.
There you go, beautiful one. Another delicious, juicy, truth-talking episode with a disruptor rebel or revolutionary sharing the identity shifts and the mess and the magic of leading right on the edge of your expansion and going first as a visionary leader, as a woman creating a business, and inviting people to completely new ways of learning, living, loving, and leading. It is not lost on me that you have invested your time and your energy in listening to the show. I am so grateful for your beautiful heart, for the work that you do in the world. And I know that if you're here, you are more than likely one of what I call the Mad Hatters. So the quirky, colourful, creative, out of the box, often neurosparkly, paradigm shifters and thought leaders. So I'm so grateful that you're here. If you loved this episode, which I'm sure you did, please do me a favor and share it with someone else who needs to understand that their quirkiness and their full, unapologetic self-expression is more than enough, and in fact is the secret sauce to growing a wildly successful, abundant, nourishing, sustainable business. So here is to us, the Mad Hatters, the crazy out-of-the-box people saying no to old paradigms and inviting into the new. And if you'd love to go the extra mile, please make sure that you subscribe on the platform that you're on so you never miss an episode. And hey, it would be sweet, sweet, sweet if you would leave us a 5-star review. It means the world to us, and it helps us get this truth talk and this magic and this power out to even more Mad Hatters. So have a beautiful day, and I will speak with you next week.